Hello and welcome to another video. The video is starting off a little bit different today. You already see some art in front of you. That's because today I kind of wanted to focus on doing a redesign of this character. Right here, she is based on another character that I have. She's actually the same character. It's just that this was her in an AU. But I was reading the story again, and I was like, I kind of feel like I don't want them to be attached to those characters anymore. And so I just decided to split them off and make them their own characters, which is another fun thing you do if you like to write AUs of your own characters. Sometimes you just go ahead and be like, I don't want it to be an AU anymore. I want it to be its own story. And then you have a whole new story and a whole new cast of characters that you can add to your hundreds of characters that you already have, just like me. So yeah, I just wanted to spend some time today redesigning her and talking a little bit about how I go about redesigning characters. Like I said before, I'm not like a character designer, and my character designs are not exactly super like original or anything like that. But I do think that I put thought into it, if that makes sense. I would just say that the thing about doing character design is just making sure that your choices are deliberate and like story based, if that makes sense. I'll get into it a little bit later, but first off, I'll just go ahead and introduce the character to you guys. So as you can see, it's her and another character who is a guy. So basically the gist of their story is that they are from two different mafia families or gangs or whatever. And it's decided for them that they are going to be entered into an arranged marriage. So the guy is like a party boy type, right? He's not really interested in taking over the family business as it is. He's just more interested in partying it up as much as he can before he has to do that. And in contrast, she is actually very interested in taking over her family's business, but unfortunately some things happen to where that she has to enter into this arranged marriage. So instead of being the boss of her own family, she has to be the wife of some guy who doesn't even want anything to do with the business and doesn't take it seriously. So it is like an enemies to lovers type thing, arranged marriage enemies to lovers type thing, where they then in turn learn to get along, and maybe it ends up that she ends up taking the business over instead of him, and he gets to be like the trophy wife. I'm not sure yet. I haven't written the whole thing, but that's like the gist. But as you can see, it doesn't really read in their characters like at all. And so I was just like, I'm gonna redesign them. And I did try to redraw her a while ago in my regular sketchbook, in my current sketchbook, but I was just fiddling with the old design, and I was like, I just redrew the old design, and I was like, I don't like it. So I'll just go ahead and show you guys some of the new sketches I have worked out for them. Oh, for her specifically. I haven't worked out exactly what I want him to look like, so we just have hers to work on right now. Maybe I'll work on his design a little bit in a separate video. But for today, it's just her. Like I said, she doesn't have a name. So if you guys have names suggestions, I will be very willing. I suck at naming things. But this is her. Sorry that my hands don't match up with the audio. I recorded this first, and then I didn't like what I said, so I cut it out, and I'm re-recording it now. But yeah, so the goal of her character design is basically to be like a person who is pretty pragmatic and practical. Like, since she was really interested in taking over her family's business, she is very focused on that. So her parents, I feel like, should reflect that. So she has this like perpetual smile on her face, but it's like an intimidation tactic, right? And like it's like weird because like, why are you smiling all the time, you know? And so yeah, and then I gave her short hair initially because I was like, well, she needs to be able to like fight or whatever. And so if she had like the long hair, someone won't be able to grab it in a fight, you know? And so the goal is basically that she's not interested in like the lifestyle stuff, like the money and the cars or whatever. She's very much into like controlling like stuff. So since she was supposed to be the boss, she's supposed to have like her hands in everything, and so that's what she's supposed to be interested in. So she doesn't like dress up or anything, and things like that. I swear this is like not it's not supposed to be like a story where she's like not like other girls or whatever, because she also does have subordinates who are very the same, very much the same. Like, they're very interested in the business and they're not interested in going out and partying and stuff. And I feel like that just makes it sound like more not like other girls stuff. I swear, I wrote this like 10 years ago at this point, so maybe it does have elements of that in there, which is kind of cringe. Maybe I'll fix that. But yeah, she's just supposed to be very pragmatic, and so I was like, well, I'll just dress her up sort of modestly because she's like, not because she is like a modest person, but more like it's to be partially unassuming and partially for like practical reasons. Like she's got a skirt, but on the sides, I decided I was gonna put some tearaway zippers. So even though it's like a tight skirt at the top, it does tear away on the sides, so that way if she needs to run and stuff, she could do that. And she's got like shorts underneath, and also the long skirt helps hide that she has like, she's strapped basically. So she has like a gun and a knife just in case she needs to, something goes down. Just so it's supposed to be more of an outfit for practical reasons. And also, I just went through some different hairstyles. The very first drawing I did is the one where it's like the full body mostly with the short hair. That was my first one, and that's the one that I liked initially. But then I just cycled through some other options just in case. Usually for me, my first idea is my favorite one, but I still think it's important to try out your ideas, because you never know if you're gonna come across one that you like more. And so I did one with the curly little ponytail because that's kind of based on what their original design looks like now, that before I split them off, and I was like, no, I don't like it. And then I did one that was the same bun and stuff, and I was like, just maybe I just needed to redraw it, and I was like, no, I don't like that either. Okay. And so then I did the one with the braid and the bangs, and I do like that one. I think I'm going to reuse that for something else, but I don't feel like it fit her personality. And also, like I said, the long hair would be really easy to grab in a fight, and so I don't think she would do that. And I was just like, well, let's combine the bangs and the short hair. Didn't like it, and let's combine the no bangs with the braid, and I still didn't like it. So I just settled on the first one, and so you're going to see me sketch that out a little bit right now. So basically, this first drawing is just a redraw of that initial sketch that I did in my car sketchbook, just because I wanted to do a full body drawing. There's not really much that I added. I just added that she has boots on, just because I feel like boots are pretty practical in the setting. If she needs to run, if she needs to kick somebody in the chest, she can do that, you know. And sorry, my dog is asleep again. I know it sounds like my dog is always asleep, and you know what? She pretty much is. Sorry. What was I talking about? The pen that I'm using today is another high-tech C. It's in brown this time. And then later on, you're going to see me coloring with another of my Ecoline brush pens. It's going to be in the color pink beige. You guys haven't really seen me sketch with brown before, but I do like to do it sometimes. Brown is not my favorite color, but I do really like the combination. It reminds me of like coffee. I don't like coffee. I don't like to drink coffee. I don't like the taste, but I do like the aesthetic of coffee. Like the colors, either like a dark coffee or even coffee with cream. I just like the way that the colors that you can get with coffee. And so I was like, oh, it's like a coffee colored spread. I have another spread that's the same color. And so even if you don't like a color, you can find something that's nice about it. And people are like, hey, you're drawing with brown, and I'm like, yeah, it's a nice brown. Not every brown is like a gross brown color, you know. Some browns are really nice. So yeah, like I said, I'm not an expert in character design or anything, or I don't even feel like I'm really too good at it, but, I just feel like if you guys are gonna do character design, typically I would try to build it with the story around it. I think that when you're a kid, you just kind of draw whatever comes to mind at the time, and you're not really putting choices to it. Like sometimes people wear stuff or they look a certain way for no reason, but like some people get tattoos so they don't really mean anything to them or anything like that, which is cool. You could do that, that's fine. But I feel like if you want the character's appearance to reflect the character themselves, I would just think of it as like, in terms of story, right? So if I wanted a character like this lady, like I said, she's very pragmatic and she's doing things for practical reasons. And if there's no practical reason to do it, she's not doing it, you know? Like, she's not going to grow her hair long because she doesn't want to grab in a fight. And she just chops it off, you know? And so that's why I decided that she has short hair. Also, I just like the way the short hair looked better, right? And if you're like, well, I like the way this looks, but I don't have a story reason for it, you can come up with a story reason for it, okay? It's your story. No one's gonna be like, that's dumb. Well, they might be like, that's dumb. And you'll be like, write your own story, friend, okay? I can do whatever I want. And even if you want your character to like look completely different than what their character is, you can do that, right? But it's just, I feel like personally, I believe it would be a stronger character design if you're designing them with their personality and maybe what their profession is in mind. Because if you're looking at a character, right, and you're like, does that, are they like a doctor or whatever? And you're like, wow, you can really tell because that's like a strong character design. I feel like doctor was not a great one, because all you have to do is put someone in a lab coat and probably most people are gonna say doctor. But you know what I mean? Like if she's like if you're designing like a woman who's like a fantasy knight, but she has like a big old wizard's hat, right? And like a wizard's staff, people are gonna be like, so she's a wizard? And they're gonna be like, no, she's not a wizard, she's a knight. And they'd be like, "Oh, okay, I don't really get that through her appearance, right?" But you could, if you do, are you like really attached to that whole wizard's aesthetic, right? You could be like, "Oh, well, she is, in fact, a knight, but she's disguising herself as a wizard as she makes her way through like her journey because like there's a really big stigma around knights. Like nobody is a big fan of like the monarchy in this country that she's in, so she disguises herself as a wizard so that way she can talk to people better so she can like do her investigation, right? So like everything that you do for your story um can work for character design, right? um you just have to find workarounds for it, okay? So you can design your character to be whatever you wanted, whatever they want, whatever you Jesus Christ, whatever you want them to look like. I would just try to have their appearance, try to convey any part of the story. I just feel like that is a stronger character design, personally. Maybe you guys are like, I do whatever I want. That's chill. Um, but like I said, doing whatever you want could also work in character design. I would just try to avoid things that like in their putting into their appearance that contrasts with their personality. Like if your character is like someone who is, let me think for a second. Maybe someone who is like a pacifist, they would never fight. They have like taken a vow to never use violence or whatever. You wouldn't design them with like a really big sword that they carry around on their back, right? Because they're a pacifist, right? You might design them to be, well, like, I don't know. I've never really designed a pacifist, but someone maybe who is more like a monk or something, someone maybe something similar to that, you know? Like I said, you could do those contradictions in like a fun story way. Like maybe you have, and it could be like you're pulling something over on the, like the person you're doing a drawing for, right? Well, not a drawing for, you're doing a drawing for yourself, but someone who's looking at it, right? So let's say you have a character who seems really nice, really friendly, and you're like, oh, they're so nice and friendly, but they use a weapon that has like a lot of, it's like really sharp and it's got like jagged edges. You know, like those cartoon knives that are like they go like they zigzag kind of. And you're like, that's kind of weird that they use a knife like that because this kind of gets into shape language. Let me describe shape language to you guys for a second. So basically, the way that human brains are wired, we can tend to associate things with other things, right? So what I'm trying to say is generally, circles are thought to be like friendly because they're round, right? And then triangles, since they're sharp and pointy, it's usually more evil. If a character is made out of really solid squares, there's a thought of to be more sturdy and strong. This is just general shape language. You can mix and match these things, do whatever you want, right? But this is just like a general association that tends to be done in character design and also kind of what brains associate with it. I don't know if initially brains associated these things with that or people were designing things like this and now our brains are associated with it. I don't know which came first, but that's generally what the idea is, right? And so if you have a character who's a lot of like circle round shapes and then all of a sudden you see that their knife is sort of jagged, maybe in your mind you might not realize that they're hiding something, right? Like maybe they're secretly evil and their knife is a way for you to show that off. And then the readers will be like, oh my gosh, I didn't even know that person was a betrayer. They seem so nice. And then it's like, oh, I suddenly sneaked it in with their crooked little knife. You know what I mean? So there are like subtle character things that are not just conveyed with the character, but also with the things that the character has on them, the things that they carry, their stuff. Like, I'd hate to say that you're defined by your stuff, but you kind of like gravitate toward things based on your personality. Like I wouldn't buy something that I hated, or something that I wasn't interested in, or something that didn't go along with the goals I'm trying to complete. So, yeah, like with this character right here, you don't really see me. I do draw a gun, but it's not a gun. She's just holding it. And it's just a rectangle. I didn't feel like drawing a gun. This is just a sketchbook doodle. Okay. But if I was going to get more into her gun design, I would maybe design her gun from, did she get a gun herself? Did somebody give it to her? Was it like a family passed down from her family? It could be passed down from her family because she was raised so that way she would be the boss of her family, the next boss of her family, and so they probably gifted her the gun, as like a way to hand over the family business to her, right? Hopefully, I don't know if in the story that could be like a thing where she would have to give it back. That would be really sad and devastating. And I just came up with that on the fly, and that could be cool. So that's what I would just say about character design is I would just lead story first, design later, right? It's one thing about making a striking character design, which is cool, right? It's cool. But I feel like a better character design is one that is informed by the story, where you can glean something from the story by looking at it. I'm not sure if this character design really gets the point across. But like I said, this is just a first pass. So I'm gonna keep working on it. And then later on, I'm gonna go ahead and redesign the guy from the story, just because um his character design does not reflect that he's supposed to be like a party boy at all. Um, and like a guy who's not taking anything seriously. Really, when I was drawing him back then, he sort of kind of had a serious expression on his face just because he was really unnerved um, by her. He just really thought that she was weird. Because I guess in comparison to people that he's been around, all of the party types, someone who's um, taking their job seriously would seem weird to him. Um, and so I kind of really want that contrast between the two characters. That's another thing in character design. Um, is that you can create characters specifically so that they contrast each other. Like I'm sure if you've watched a show, you know about the red blue character. Um and people tend to ship them together, but that's neither here nor there. That's just because generally if it's a red and a blue character, people associate red and blue as to be kind of opposites, right? Even though the opposite of red is green, but we're not gonna get into that. But yeah, people tend to associate red and blue as opposites. So people tend to make characters that are associated with red and blue antagonistic towards each other. And so you could also use color theory when designing characters. And if you design them as pairs, you can do things like color association with them. So maybe if you want two characters to be seen as more friendly to each other, you would design them with colors that go together better. Um, so maybe not opposite colors, but if you're like these guys are friends, maybe I'll design one of them as red, in, and then the other one I would design is yellow because those colors are close together, right? And they go together well, right? I'm hoping that this makes sense to you guys. Like I said, I'm not a character designer. This is just stuff that I've really picked up along the way. Don't take anything I say as gospel and like you have to do it. If at the end of the day you heard all of that and you're like, you're full of shit and I'm not gonna do any of that, I'm gonna do whatever I want. That's completely cool and chill. I'm just trying to give out some information that I think has helped me a little bit with designing characters. Like I said, I'm not the greatest at it. But I like to think that it's story based. And that's really all I want is to be able to convey story through character design. But yeah, now you just see me. I'm just drawing her. I figured I would just draw her with her skirt open so that way you could see the way that the breakaway skirt works. So I just designed it with these zippers that there's these zippers that you can like if you're in a hurry and you really need your jacket open or whatever, you could just pull them apart and then just like unzip. I can't remember what I saw it for, or what their purpose is, but I'm sure it's like for something important. I can't remember what it is now. But yeah, so I'm just drawing her from the side. so that way I can draw her skirt being open a little bit, and then you can see her shorts underneath. Um, like I said, I'm gonna be working on this character design a little bit more, and hopefully I will work on the guy's character design, maybe in a video for next week. Yeah, and then I know you didn't see me draw that little face up in the top corner. Uh, I just cut it out because half of it was obscured when I was drawing it in the first place. So I was just like, yeah, we'll just cut it out. But I just trying to draw her with like a scary kind of face. I really like the face where a character to show that they're like angry, like their eyes open really wide, and then the rest of their face is blacked out. And so even though she has like a smile on her face most of the time, when she really gets ticked off, um, instead of having that smiling expression, her eyes open like all the way and she stops smiling. And that's kind of how you know that she's really like mad. uh so I was just trying to do a little sketch of that, and that's what that little drawing is up in the corner. I'm not really sure if it reads as angry. I'm really trying to get better at that really wide-eyed expression because I really like that as a display of anger. I just feel like it feels intimidating, and it feels like kind of not like monster like, but something akin to that. I don't know. I just really like that look. You saw me if you have seen my car sketchbook tour, you would see I did like a bunch of those type drawings. I don't know. I just like something about that look. And I did pull up a reference when I was sketching her holding the gun or whatever. I don't know what people look like when they hold guns, thankfully. So I just had to pull up a reference for that, and I have it up in the corner. Like I said, guys, pull up a reference if you need a reference, and I desperately needed a reference for this one. But the reference didn't have her legs. Um, so that's why the legs are just like sort of standing there. And technically, I only draw one. Um, I wanted the pose to be a little bit more dynamic so that way the swishing of the skirt would make a little bit more sense. But as of right now, she's just standing there and her skirt is like swinging all over the place and it doesn't really make sense. But also this is just a doodle in my sketchbook, okay? It's okay to be ambitious. But sometimes you just need to remember, if it comes out ugly, we can just draw it again. And I am probably gonna draw this again so that way the skirt pose makes sense. But yeah, I just put this at the end of my sketchbook because the rest of my sketchbook is mostly like Duke and Katsuo and all those guys. And I was like, I'm not trying to open a whole new sketchbook just to work on this. I just put it at the end. Um, I'm just trying to make my sketchbook look more cohesive, even though that's not the point of a sketchbook. Um, but yeah. And I also cut out the hatching. I don't know if you guys really like to watch the hatching, but I cut out like 5 minutes of footage from doing the hatching on both shirts. So the video is a little bit shorter because I cut out the hatching. Um, Let me know if you're like, bring back the hatching. I really love the hatching. Um, because like I said before previously, I like to watch the hatching because I like to do the hatching. Um, but yeah, I know it might not be everybody's cup of tea. And then I'm just finishing up coloring in the skirt. And then after I do that, you're gonna go ahead and look back on what I started with for this drawing. Um, just so you can see what I went with for the design. And there we go. That's just what the initial sketches look like. I feel like the first sketch of her face is better, but that's okay. We're not always going to draw characters consistently. That's what we practice for. And this is what I settled on for what she looks like now. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.